The 49ers have a deal in place with the Pittsburgh Steelers that they would agree to. BA has a deal in place with the Pittsburgh Steelers that he would agree to, but the 49ers and BA are still trying to come to terms on a long-term agreement between the two of them before they just pull the trigger on the Steeler trade. So, based off of the latest breaking news, how are you feeling about this BA situation today, Sunil? Today. Last Second Sports is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Link is in the description. Promo code LSS. First-time depositors using my link will receive a special pick plus up to $250 in bonus cash. Don't miss out. Click the link today. Thank you, Underdog, for being a sponsor. Now back to the video.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could speak for most of the fan base that's like, just want a resolution at this point. You know, there's been the roller coaster of feelings. I think you and I have both come out. I think Brandon Aiyuk's my favorite player on the team. I know he's one of your favorite players on the team as well. I obviously think that his trajectory as a player, he's only going to be getting better. And there's no world where I'm just like, okay, the team could be better without him. However, it's not about what I think, right? It's about what the 49ers brass thinks, what Lynch and Shanahan think. And clearly they see a path where losing Aiyuk isn't detrimental to their season. That's the only thing I could think, Jesse, because there's no other reason why this isn't done. And you know, the new reports are that the trade is just for a couple of picks, so it's not even a player coming back. So clearly, they're not stressed about replacing Aiyuk immediately, at least with a player from the Steelers. So yeah, I mean, it's really confusing. I was just telling you off camera, I was like, you know, up until this point, and from majority, like I would still say 90%, I think this is all on the 49ers and their handling of the situation. Mm-hmm. But at this point as well, I'm just like, you know, Aiyuk I'll give him 10% blame for, you know, making it as dramatic as it is right now. But ultimately, I just want a resolution. We want to be talking about the team, their chances, what they need to do to like move forward and take that next step further, not only making the Super Bowl, but winning a Super Bowl. And unfortunately, we can't because there's still this cloud hanging over the team with not only BA, but also Trent not being there.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, really. And that's what the most frustrating thing is for me is like, how do you give an accurate forecast on the season without knowing who's going to be there and who's not? You know, like the injury thing we can talk about. We can talk about how it impacts the team. We can talk about, you know, them canceling joint practices and how that impacts the team. But really all of it to me is more of a moot point if we don't even know if BA and or Trent are going to be here. And that's what the hardest thing is. It's like, how do you forecast without two of your best players either here or not here? And are they going to be here? Or are they not going to be here? And then the other frustrating side of this is right now, no matter what the 49ers do, it seems like they were wrong. Like if they trade BA and they get, let's say, a second and a fourth and they don't get a player, no fan would be happy with that at all. I mean, what is that doing to help their chances win a Super Bowl this year? Those picks aren't helping win a Super Bowl this year.
Especially when you know you could have got a first from the same
team. Exactly. And use that first in the draft this year.
Right.
And then
possibly for a replacement for Trent.
Exactly. So, and then if they sign him, it's like, well, what was the point of any of that? You ended up coming up to the deal he wanted the whole time, obviously. And that's where Aiyuk is right now. And Aiyuk basically came out and said it when he's like, there's two options. The two options are you offer me what I'm being offered from the Steelers, and I say yes, or you trade me to the Steelers. That is the options. And the 49ers are like, well, I mean, you know, we're back at the table. And he's like, what are we doing back at the table? Do you have the offer in hand that no? Okay, then we're not going back and forth anymore. You're either offering me what I've accepted and agreed to with the Steelers, or you're trading me to the Steelers. There is no, well, we were at 24 and a half. Now we're at 26. Well, we were at 26. Now we're at 26.5. It's like, no.
Yeah.
How what the Steelers are offering or not, then there's nothing to talk about. And that's where I feel like BA is. And the 49ers can put out all they want and say, well, we're back negotiating. We would prefer to have Brandon. If we trade Brandon, it was his decision. Okay, but you've known now for a while what the demands are, and you've either decided to meet those demands or not meet those demands. And you're either trading him or you're not. There's really nothing else to discuss from BA's side when it comes to him negotiating with the 49ers, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, this really, I think, sheds light that the 49ers as an organization, and, put your blame on whoever you want to put your blame on. I know some people are going to put the blame on Shanahan, others on Lynch, others on Parag, whatever it is. It just seems like, they didn't have a plan for when everybody's contract comes up. And what I mean by that is like, look, if your plan was we're not going to go higher than 26 million or 26.5 million, whatever it is, you have to negotiate. I understand for the last however many years of this regime, since 2017 up until 2023. So what's that? 6 years. You can do 6-7 years. You could wait till July, June to negotiate contracts. That's easy when you have cap space, when you have, when you're not up against a hard wall and you have some flexibility, right? Eventually that plan has to change when the circumstances changed. And clearly the circumstances have changed and they didn't adjust, right? They still played the same thing. If hey, we can't go higher than this number. If you really want this player, you go to the table before the draft. You say, look, this is the most we can do. Will you accept that or will you not accept that? And if they say no, then you have to start making then you start talking to teams about trades and try to get the best that you can during the draft. Not now in August and, now you're trying to, figure it out and all that kind of stuff. To me, that's a big, big issue for this front office, that they're still working on what has worked for them the past 6 years, even though circumstances have changed. Point 2, Jesse, is I think this is more than just the money as well. And what I mean by that is I think a lot is coming to light, and shout out to Ryan Hensley, shout out to Marco, because I think they're doing a great job really analyzing this for the fan base. The relationship that we thought BA had with this team, and what I mean by this team, we're talking Shanahan, we're talking Lynch and front office and whatnot, it's not as good as maybe we thought it was, right? And I think that's coming to play on both sides. Maybe Kyle Shanahan isn't the biggest fan of BA in the sense that he doesn't see BA as a long-term solution for what his offense needs, not because of the player, but because of whatever the relationship is or lack thereof to really build a roster around, right? And I think BA feels the same way. He feels probably like, look, I'm not being treated the way that my play on the field should be treated, right? I think only one aspect of it is pay me. The other aspect is respect me in the sense of how you use me in the offense and whatnot. So I think that's a part of this that can't really be quantified. But I think that the reason why I'm saying that's a bigger deal is because this is the messiest it's ever gotten from a player's perspective and the team's perspective. And I think that's underlying there, which hasn't been the case for any of these other negotiations, because I think ultimately the other players didn't have a problem outside of just wanting money. And I think BA also wants his money, but I also don't think he's necessarily as happy with the team as maybe the other players that they've negotiated with.
Yeah, I think he just sees through the BS, right? Like Kyle does this thing where he acts like he's not involved, and then he comes in last minute and white knights it. It's like, oh, you guys are having trouble here? Well, let me step in and fix everything. And it's like BA's going, hey, dummy, I know that you're the man behind the curtain saying yes or no the whole time. Like, don't act like you're not involved. Don't act like you're not the final decision maker. The whole reason we're in this mess is because you want to play games. So don't come in and try to white knight with me. I know exactly the way this thing works. I know exactly how this organization is structured. Either offer me what I want or don't. Here's what I'm going to do. He's been clear about that from the beginning. If you plan on making me play on a fifth year option, I'll show up in week 11 when I have to, and I'll get my 6 accrued weeks. If you don't plan on offering me 28 million, 29 million, whatever that number is, then trade me, because I've got teams that will give me that number. I've worked that out with them already. Or if you want me at my happiest, I definitely want to be a 49er. I would prefer to stay a 49er, but pay me what is fair market value. And that doesn't even have to be higher than these other teams. I'm not asking you to go above and beyond these other teams to make up for the lack of taxes or an astronomical number like the Patriots were offering at $32+ million. That's unrealistic. I know that my value is this, and even to a team like yours, I should be valued at this. So make that happen, please. And that's where he's been. So I don't know, man. I think for me, the reason that I put more blame on the organization is because I have a feeling that they're not going to make him play on the 5th year. Like that would be the only right answer at this point. If they just aren't willing to pay him and they aren't willing to trade him, make him play on the 5th year and call his bluff, sure. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're either going to pay him or they're going to trade him. And if you were going to trade him, you should have done it before the draft and used the draft picks. And if you're going to pay him, you could have paid him weeks ago and had him in training camp the whole time. Because if you end up striking a deal with BA, that means you acquiesce to what he had been asking for the whole time. And this whole thing should have been avoided. So what are you going to do, 49ers? Anything short of making him play on the 5th year option and holding true to that means you caved. And you did it at the wrong time. So what was the whole point of any of this?
Sure.